She grew up in a middle-class home. She was the daughter of a working mom, and she worked at McDonald's while she got her degree. Kamala Harris knows what it's like to be middle class. It's why she's determined to lower healthcare costs and make housing more affordable. Donald Trump has no plan to help the middle class, just more tax cuts for billionaires. Being president is about who you fight for, and she's fighting for people like you.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Kamala Harris's campaign is attempting to make a big splash, it seems, with the Republican base in an attempt to reel them in with ads such as the one you just saw, which has been playing on Fox News. You gotta love that. We'll get back to Harris and the reasoning behind this ad in a second, but first, according to David Byler, chief of research at Noble Predictive Insights and a polling expert and former writer of the Washington Post and Weekly Standard, Trump's base is changing. Quote, the MAGA base is more powerful than it was in 2016 because it acquired other parts of the Republican base. You can look at the difference between Trump's numbers in this primary and the primary 8 years ago among very conservative voters. There are groups that believe in conservative ideology, or there are demographic groups like white evangelicals, especially church-attending white evangelicals who once harbored skepticism toward Trump that have now been folded into the MAGA wing with populists who were already there. But Breyer explained in an interview with the New York Times that there's a stark difference between a supporter of Trump and a supporter of the Republican Party, but they feel stuck with Trump. There's something that pushes them away from the current Trumpian GOP, but they hold conservative beliefs at the same time. A lot of them, I think, come home to Trump by election day just because of polarization. While this interview was published in March before Biden dropped out of the race and a lot changed, it plays into the reasoning as to why Harris is trying to make inroads with certain Republicans and show them another option, hence the ad we just showed. But her messaging seems to be working, and she's getting next level help from unexpected groups. Take a look at this one.
Have you been to the cross and said, Lord, I have sinned. I'm sorry for my sin. I'm willing to change my way of life.
Have you ever asked God for forgiveness? That's a tough question. I'm not sure I have. I don't bring God into that picture. I don't.
That is a powerful ad. And you know Trump is stumped when he makes that really goofy cartoon face where he goes, that like Joker face where he doesn't know what he's doing.
Hey, don't scroll away. Come back. Because before the video continues, we just want to urge you to lend your support to TYT. You power our honest reporting. You do it at tyt.com/team, and we love you for it.
Harris's campaign is starting to draw out more support for those who sympathize with Democratic ideals but didn't necessarily want to endorse Biden for certain obvious reasons. Among the group's featured proponents is Texas pastor Dwight McKissick, who's been active in both the Nashville-based Southern Baptist Convention, a group typically supportive of Republicans, and the Nashville-based National Baptist Convention USA, an association of Black Baptists typically supportive of Democrats. McKissick told Christianity Today that while he disagrees with Harris's stance on abortion, he's basing his decision to support her on the fact that she's the more qualified candidate. Wow, if only more people had a brain that worked in actual logic like that, we'd be living in a much better place. Another Nashville resident, New York Times opinion columnist David French, who leans more to the right, also expressed his support for Harris with an op-ed titled, "To Save Conservatism from Itself, I am voting for Harris." In it, French wrote, "Since the day Donald Trump came down that escalator in 2015, the MAGA movement has been engaged in a long-running, slow-rolling ideological and characterological transformation of the Republican Party. At each step, it has pushed Republicans further and further away from Reaganite conservatism. It has divorced Republican voters from any major consideration of character and leadership, and all the while it has labeled people who resisted the change as traitors." He also added, "It is difficult to overstate the viciousness and intolerance of MAGA Christians against their political foe. There are many churches and Christian leaders who are now more culturally Trumpian than culturally Christian. Trump is changing the church." Cenk, I'm curious your thoughts on that.
Yeah, a couple of things. So we talked about this earlier in the show. The symbol of Trump was him coming down that golden escalator back in the 2016 race. Now I think the symbol is a spiral staircase, just infinitely spiraling down, and can't help himself. And Kamala Harris is giving a good push off that staircase, to extend the analogy here, because these ads are good, and her and her allies. So. I think they should do an ad on Fox News. I think that's aggressive, gets into his voting block. If you say, well, they're not gonna peel off too many. Listen, if they peeled off just 5% of Fox News viewers, that would make a huge difference. And can they? Well, remember how impressionable Fox News viewers are. They'll believe almost anything. So running an ad there makes sense. They'll believe it. And then she's mentioning some hot button issues that are very important: lower drug prices, housing costs are out of control. Now, if you really wanted to do something about that, I'd be your huckleberry. I mean, what I would do is say, I'm not gonna let private equity buy any more of your homes. We're gonna send Wall Street packing. They don't belong on Main Street. And I do a warpath on that. And on the drug companies, how dare they say that we're not allowed to negotiate drug prices on a free market? I would emphasize that. But remember, both Kamala Harris and Donald Trump have massive donors in real estate, Wall Street, and the drug companies. Okay, but back to the evangelicals. That is a beautiful ad. So look, I'm not a Christian. This whole thing of asking for forgiveness, and because Jesus died 2,000 years ago and poor guy got tortured for my sins, I don't get it. It's not for me, it's for other people. But I understand how they think and why they think what they do, and I respect it, because they're basically saying, for those of you who are unfamiliar with it, which I don't know if there's that many of you, but saying, hey, listen, man, I'm not the end all be all. And I make many mistakes as a human being, and I agree with my Christian brothers and sisters on this, right? And so what they're saying on top of that is, and I'm asking for forgiveness, and I'm turning to God for that, because I'm not proud, I'm fallible, etc. Trump doesn't understand any of that. Not only is he not a Christian, and keep it real, guys. When has he gone to church? He doesn't know anything. What did he call it? Corinthians 2.0 or whatever? Like, he doesn't know anything. When they ask him about Old Testament or New Testament, he's like frozen in like a deer in the headlights. I like them both. I like them both. Yeah, you haven't read a word in either one of them. They asked him what his favorite Bible verse was. He said, I don't know, all of it. He's pathetic. He's not at all Christian. He thinks Christians are suckers and losers who are supposed to vote for him, even though he's the most unchristian guy you've ever met in your life. So has he ever asked for forgiveness of anyone, let alone God? The answer is obviously no. And why? Because he's a bad guy. No matter how much he hurts people, he thinks, so what? They were suckers and losers and I took advantage of them like anybody would. No. We don't all think like you, Donald Trump. Only you think that way, or a couple of people do. He's a terrible guy.
Yeah, not just that. Not just even if they were able to pick off 5% of Fox News viewers, which is a big ask. They picked off 1%, 2%. Even if they picked off a few thousand people, that might end up being the decision-making amount of people in these razor-thin elections, it would be well worth it. And it's also just good to make people think. Maybe some of them don't go to Harris, but they don't vote for Trump, and they vote for an independent candidate. They vote for RFK, or they write something in, and it just takes away votes in some key places. I think it's a very strong strategy. Trump has pretended to be religious for a very long time. I don't know how they don't see it. Like when you claimed he's like in Corinthians number 2. I'm surprised he's not going so far as to be like, oh, which Bible do I like? I love the sequel Bible a lot. I'm waiting for the trilogy so much. The trilogy actually is the Trump Bible, available for sale now along with my golden shoes. I mean, the guy literally is making like golden calf-esque shoes to sell to people. And when he spoke just a couple weeks ago, he said, you're all Christian, I'm Christian. He like jumbled his words because he wasn't able to really honestly say. He couldn't even like make the words come out that he is Christian. And the man is just all about descending us into chaos, the opposite of uplifting through maybe what a religious belief for a lot of people could do. You remind us of his staircase coming down. I always thought it was so ridiculous. In a perfect analogy, he was literally descending us into chaos when his campaign started. My campaign, I shot a video I didn't end up releasing, but where I actually was making my announcement going up an escalator. It's like, shouldn't you be going upward? Shouldn't you be trying to bring the country up to the next level? But no, that's not even what he tries to do. He literally is bringing us down into the trenches to just fight a dirty fight. Luckily, this trend hopefully is moving. Groups are getting on board for the opposite side of this mess, not just evangelicals. Earlier this week, it was reported that Harris is starting to surge with swing state white working class voters, another part of Trump's core group. Take a look at this video.
White working class voters, white voters without a college degree. That is Donald Trump's core group. That was the reason why he was able to break down that giant blue wall, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, in the Great Lakes. And look at their support now versus where we were a few months ago when the matchup was between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Look, Donald Trump still leads, but look at that margin. It has shrunk significantly. It was 25 points back in May. It is now 14 points now here in August, nearly been sliced by half. Those numbers that Harris is putting up amongst that group right now are actually slightly better than Joe Biden did 4 years ago amongst those voters in those key states. Those are the types of numbers that Kamala Harris needs to put up in order to win. And of course, Joe Biden was like, I don't want to drop out of the race because I'm not sure that Kamala Harris can break in with this group, but it turns out she absolutely can.
It's amazing. You put a candidate who is coherent and speaks in inspiring ways, and look at the numbers flip so quickly. I think the most inspiring Trump ever was to non-college educated voters was his really beautiful, "We love the poorly educated." That was the best he ever did to reach out to that group.
He literally said that. And he said about his cabinet, I don't want any poor people in my cabinet. I only want rich people. And because he views rich as successful, and if you're poor or middle class, he thinks you haven't earned anything. It's disgusting. All right, last quick thing that I'll say is, people have known, I run a media company, I know viewers act in ways that you can't predict. So for example, Ben's on Rebel Headquarters, that's another one of our channels on the TYT network. You'd be shocked at how little crossover there are between Young Turks and Rebel Headquarters, even though we're in the same network. It says TYT in the corner, instead of Damage Report, Young Turks, etc. So that's why these people go, give up on Fox News. Don't even try to go on there or do ads or interviews there. You're wrong. When Bernie Sanders, and by the way, Pete Buttigieg, who I don't like, when they go on there and they do town halls and interviews, it actually does swing some small percentage of people. But as Ben pointed out, that's who's going to decide the election, a small percentage of people. So good aggressive campaigning by Kamala Harris here. Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.